Hello everyone, this is Wolfie of Mistforge here, bringing you another top 5 video. In this video I'd like to talk about certain ability features that no longer are part of the game. Whether they were upgrades or base abilities, these are things that were taken out of the game for either balance purposes or because it didn't fit the vision Motiga had for the hero. A lot of these things will probably be hidden somewhere in the memories of veteran players, both good and bad memories. As I did for the ability upgrades video, I will be limiting these to one per hero. Without any further ado, this is top 5 abilities that no longer exist. Number 5. Zandora, Vow of Shielding Global. If you thought Zandora's focus was strong before, back in her core development cycle, she had an upgrade that allowed her to provide her allies with a shield regardless of where they were on the map, very similar to Soraka's Wish in League of Legends. The worst part about this is that the shield didn't lose any potency and was also numerically stronger. The only reason this is so low on the list despite its power, it is also the only one on this list that never made it to a live client, probably for the best. Number 4. Kaido, Talon Wind Shears. Kaido used to have an upgrade on his left mouse button that allowed him to fire short-range projectiles that had a higher chance to critically strike. They were shaped like little whirlwinds similar to the wind trails on his Talon animation, as if they were flinging off the blade itself. If memory serves correctly, I believe that these could also pierce targets similar to Ashland's Spectral Wave. Can you imagine if this was still in the game, just trying to run from Kaido and then all of a sudden you get pelted by 3 or 4 whirlwinds from a distance? It'd feel terrible for the enemy, but it was probably a lot of fun for some Kaido mains. Number 3. Zenobia, Wave of Sorrow Shredden. Now getting into much older territory, Zenobia used to have an upgrade on her Wave of Sorrow that allowed her to jump onto the wave and ride it by holding shift and moving forward, similar to applying the Pierce Bleed for Nasus. This upgrade also made the projectile move faster and was on the same tree that allowed it to pass through multiple targets, meaning that Zenobia could ride through enemies to weaken them and then end up behind them if she really wanted to. This was also back in the time where Zenobia's focus would drain much more health from enemies and the healing stack at 100%, making her pretty much the original regeneration tank. This upgrade was removed simply because it made no sense that Zenobia had such a useful mobility tool on top of everything that she already has today. It was really that strong. Number 2. Trip, Electric Slide to the Skies. Trip had an interesting interaction with her electric slide. By rapidly tapping the spacebar during the slide, Trip could actually rise off the ground and gain some good height. This was dubbed as the Teldo jump, as it was discovered by German streamer Teldo, who can claim to be the original Trip main. He even showcased it at the first ever PAX South convention in San Antonio, Texas in January 2015 in the discussion panel. Sadly, this was patched out in less than 2 months later so that Trip was grounded while sliding, as Motiga wanted to keep the vision of Trip being an assassin who had other advantages like stealth instead of vertical mobility like her counterparts Kaido and then Wu, who was released a month later. Before going to my number 1 pick, here are some honorable mentions. Vadasi, Double Beam. Also back in the Alpha Gigantic days, the talent specialization system was a lot larger. Not only did we have 5 choices of bonus effects of each hero's ability at level 5, 1 for each ability, but we also had passives to pick at levels 3, 7, and 9, while one of these old level 5 upgrades allowed Vadasi to channel 2 beams at once. This was also the same time where her right mouse button was the fireball and her left mouse button could either be the healing beam or the damage beam depending on which target was closest to your crosshair. If 2 people were standing near each other, Vadasi would channel the corresponding beam to them. And surprisingly enough, it actually worked pretty well. But this feature was removed because it allowed Vadasi's already tremendous healing output to hit more than one ally, and it was redesigned into the Light of Judgment talent on her left mouse button we still have today. Amani, Kill Shot One Shot. Amani's focus used to be one giant bolt that dealt all the ramping damage in an instant. Although the damage overall was much less than it is now, a tier 1 Amani focus back in the day was still around 900 burst damage in an instant. You could chain this with the increased boom bolt damage from the all-in upgrade to instantly pop roughly 1400 damage into a single person before they even hit the ground. This was changed because of the fact that there was no possible counterplay to Amani's focus unless you were just incredibly lucky that she missed. Nasus, Labyrinth Ring of Spears. Nasus is another one of those handful of heroes who had a different focus a couple years back. The focus still dealt damage and applied bleed and interrupted actions, but it also created an impenetrable ring of spears that boosted Nasus's damage. Even vertically mobile heroes like Wu could not jump over the ring because there was an invisible wall that bounced you back in. The ring of spears also destroyed incoming projectiles, so it really set the stage of Nasus separating the teamfight. Thankfully, this was changed into something that overall does more damage but is also much more fair. Number 1. Wu, Tongue Lash Terrain Pool. Wu is already arguably the most mobile hero in the game, but there was a day where he had even more mobility. Like an amazing spider frog, Wu was able to pull himself to a target area by jumping before casting Tongue Lash. It didn't matter if it was the wall or the ground, you just had to be in range for the tongue to hit the terrain and you had one of the best gap closes or escapes in the game. But this change wasn't made just because of mobility balance purposes, it was also changed because it limited Wu's pickoff potential. Even if you hit an enemy, you would still pull yourself to where they were standing instead of pulling them to you because it was coded that Wu would always go to his tongue if he was in the air. Wu was supposed to be designed as a hero who could engage and kill a target with a crowd control chain, not someone who goes in first and bursts someone down. That'll be the end of this top 5 video. If you learned something new today, please go ahead and give this video a like and share with your friends. If you enjoy what we do here on Mistforge, hit that subscribe button so that you're the first to know when a new video gets released. Thanks for watching, have a great day, and we'll see you on the airship.